Oh, live. Sorry, everyone. I was waiting for the countdown. Sorry about that. Okay, let's get started with this presentation. My name is Terysa.
And I am Nick.
And we are from Sailing Ruby Rose. And just a quick little bit about us first. We have a YouTube channel. We have been creating for our YouTube channel for 3 years now. And we now have 125,000 subscribers. And today we're going to be talking to you about the role of influencers on the charter market. So the way this will work is Nick is going to do the bulk of the presentation and I'm going to do behind the scenes all the technical stuff. And then at the end, we will have a Q&A. So if you have any questions, then think them up now and we'll answer your questions at the end if you have any. And in the meantime, I'll let Nick get on with the presentation. So
Perfect. All right.
Just give me a minute.
Let's get our slideshow up and running, my love. Good. So you should be able to see that. The role of sailing YouTube channels on the influencer market. Now, if you are rushed and pressed for time today and you want to know the answer, is it worth getting involved with YouTube sailing channels to market your product? The answer is yes. It's a resounding yes. And I'm going to spend the next half an hour explaining to you exactly why that is the case, how things have changed in the fusion between sailing YouTube channels and the charter market. And then hopefully this will allow you to make decisions going forward in how you apportion potential marketing budgets for your charter businesses. So slide number 1, please, Terysa. Now, let's just start with a broad overview. This is obviously a digital forum and a digital conference, so you are fully aware of influencers outside of the sailing market. You've got big sports people, you know, the slide that we've got there. Lewis Hamilton, huge name. Cristiano Ronaldo, again, huge in football. And the girl, yeah, I think she sells makeup, but she's a billionaire. Kylie Jenner at 21, she's a billionaire. And a lot of this success for her has come from being an influencer. But that success that she has brought to herself has also worked hugely for the companies that she has worked with. Terysa. So let's just look at the influencer market, because this is the thing. We want to know what it's worth. Let's look at Instagram. Everyone knows what Instagram is, owned by Facebook. And essentially, it's an image sharing platform. You show high quality images and people essentially scroll through looking to see pretty photographs. That is predicted to hit $5 billion in 2020. Now, obviously, with everything that has happened in 2020, these predictions that may have been made in January haven't come to pass, because the reason that I'm talking to you from a Greek island and the reason that you're in Croatia or other places of the world is that COVID has kind of put a dampener on the year. However, when this survey was made, the predicted market for 2020 was $5 billion. And that is increasing year on year as companies seeking to form partnerships with influencers understand the benefit of those influencers to their brands. So that's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and websites. This is even bigger. Facebook marketing, $18 billion. And these marketing campaigns are used and have been used to win elections. Some people would say to rig elections. They've been used to sell products from tooth whitening to whatever you happen to be talking about with your friends, and your computer picks up on that despite the fact it's not meant to. So Facebook marketing is huge. YouTube marketing, even greater. And then the biggest one of all is marketing through websites, through your own websites. So these predictions, while made in 2019 for 2020, show year-on-year growth of advertising revenue created by influencers. Terysa. Now let's move on to sailing. Now, obviously, this is what we're here for. You are a charter. This is a charter market. And let's just run through some channels and talk to you about how they have worked with companies to share their influence and to use their influence to kind of sell product. Let's start with the number 1 channel, La Vagabonde. You must know who La Vagabonde are. They have 1.4 million subscribers the last time I looked. And they are unique in the sailing market in that they've broken through the glass ceiling of appealing not just to sailors, but to whole swathes of lifestyle people. So they sell lifestyle choices, they sell sailing, and as such, their brand is huge. And they have had several and still continue to have successful partnerships with companies like DJI, who manufacture drones and camera equipment. Let's just move down to SV Delos. Again, these are good friends of ours. Now, Brian and Brady, their thing is diving and sailing. And so they have very successful partnerships with companies that promote diving and companies that also are involved in sailing. And there is obviously a big overlap between those two. And then another set of our friends, Nikki and Jason over at Gone with the Winds. Now, if you're familiar with their brand, they came from the RV market and they lived and traveled around America in an RV for years. And what they did when they moved across to sailing, they bought a lot of their brand partnerships. One of them is they work particularly well with recycling and environmental issues. And so their brand, they're working, for instance, with the composting toilet company, and that is working hugely, hugely well for them and for the companies that they work for. And then there's us, and we have been working with 5 to 10 companies over various different parts of sailing, from direct promotion of product to charter companies. And we will give you some studies and some statistics from our point of view over the coming 30 minutes as to how this all works and how this will work for you. But bear in mind, I have given you 4 examples of large sailing channels. There are 2,200 active sailing channels at the moment. And if you wish to partner with one of those channels or many of those channels, you need to find a channel that is good for your business. And so over the coming slides and over the coming minutes, I'm going to walk you step by step through how you should be approaching channels and what to expect in return. So let's start by defining influence. What defines someone's influence? How do you see how influential they are, whether that's in sailing or otherwise? It's actually pretty complicated. And the first thing that most people look at is subscriber count. This channel's got 1 million subscribers. This channel's got 100,000 subscribers. But is the one with 1 million subscribers 10 times more powerful than the one with 100,000 subscribers? Possibly not. There are many reasons for this, but 2 that you do need to be aware of. As per this slide here, you can buy subscribers. It's pretty easy. It's totally illegal, but you can buy them, and it's not that expensive. Number 2, the viral video. There are loads and loads of viral videos, even within sailing. Looking at a viral video where, say, for instance, a channel has 20,000 views per video, 20,000 views per video, and then they get the viral video and they get 20 million views of videos, as does happen, is not always good for the channel. And let me explain why. Often a viral video is triggered by certain things. Nudity is one, graphic violence can be another one. And both of these, while against the terms of service of YouTube, do sometimes create viral videos. Some good friends of ours had a viral video within sailing. It had 20 million views. And the thing about that is that you get a lot of people subscribing. They gained 30,000 subscribers over a very, very short space of time. And as such, their subscriber count went up. But those people that subscribed never really became engaged or involved with their channel. They clicked because they thought they were getting something that was titillating. And then when they put subsequent videos out, what happened was that those people never really watched again. So looking at subscriber count is not always the best metric to study. Now, I've made this even more complicated for you because a lot of you will think, well, what do we do? So Terysa, let's look at the next slide. There is a way of defining influence. Now, this slide that I'm showing you now is the back end of YouTube. It is the back end of any YouTube channel's profile. And for us, we can see this over our channel, and any other sailing channel will be able to see what these metrics are. Now, this looks pretty complicated, and I'm going to run through it with you, and I'm also going to show in a subsequent slide how to simplify this. But what you need to look at here is the bottom right-hand side of this slide, the triangle that goes down like this. What that shows is, firstly, the number of impressions that are shown. What do I mean by impression? If you put a video out, a lot of the time on YouTube, when you've watched one video, it asks you what you want to watch next. So, for instance, when we put a video out, People that follow us, people that don't follow us, and people that are just browsing YouTube will be given our video as a suggestion as to what to watch. If that video is shown 500,000 times as what to watch and a certain number of people click on that, that forms what's called our click-through rate. So you need to be looking at click-through rates because that shows how appealing the video is. And that shows you, if you're working with an influencer, what is likely, how many people are likely to click on that video. But once you've clicked on the video, you need to make sure that you keep people engaged in your content. So say, for instance, I was to put a video out that said, make $1 million in 1 week guaranteed. People would click on that, but they then would not find that they are making $1 million and that the video didn't actually fulfill the claims in either the thumbnail or the title. So the next thing you need to do in the next part of that funnel is to work on watch time. And that is what that works out how engaged the people that are watching your videos are. And so when you take the click-through rate, the number of people that click through based on your thumbnail, and you multiply that by the amount of time that they spend watching, that gives you engagement. And this is what you need to be working on and looking at if you are looking to find an influencer to work with, Terysa. So that previous slide is pretty complicated. So let's just break this down into the next slide. Now, this slide is it's a page from our media pack, and any YouTube sailing channel you would or could be working with will have a media pack, or they should have a media pack. And that will, in pretty simplistic terms, show you exactly what you want to know from a channel. 4 statistics here, 4 metrics, lifetime view time minutes. That's really how long the channel has been going and how engaged people have been over the lifetime of the channel. The next metric, monthly views. How current, how many minutes, how much engagement are you getting concurrently? For us, this is an old slide, but on average, 500,000 monthly views, which means that if you are working with an influencer, you can kind of think, well, our product is going to be shown 500,000 times monthly. Subscriber number, we've already dealt with that. And then watch minutes. That is a factor of engagement. So if you are, as a broad spectrum, as a broad set of values, if your latest videos make 80% of your viewing figures, then, and you are getting, in this case, 5.2 million monthly watch minutes, you can say that about 4.5 million minutes of watch time are being consumed showing your product. Pretty impressive and pretty powerful, Terysa. So, do influencers in sailing work? Well, I've already told you that they do work, but it used to be impossible, absolutely impossible for you to quantify this. 2 or 3 years ago when we were first started, 2 years ago when we started to become an established channel, it was impossible for us to go to any manufacturer, any charter company and say, if we work with you, if we make videos for you, then it's going to work. And the reason why it was impossible to quantify is that neither the sailing channels understood how to market, nor did the companies that they were working with understand the value. So there was no history, there was no precedent set. And so we, within our own sailing channel, and I can only speak for our channel because I'm only privy to that information, other channels will probably work in a very similar way. But us as a channel have worked for the last 3 years to make sure that we can go to companies and say, look, we have examples of success in our partnerships. And over the next 3 slides, I'm going to show you exactly how we have been able to quantify what we consider to be success and how you, if you are working with influencers and if you are going to work with a sailing channel, can also ask for those metrics of success. Terysa. So this is our return of investment study number 1. It is Seaweed Catamarans. Now, if you do follow our channel, you will know that we have recently sold our boat and are designing another boat with Seaweed Catamarans. Now, this partnership has been in place for about a year. Now, we don't know how to design a boat. We have no interest in that at all because we're not naval architects. However, we do know what a boat needs for liveaboards. But the interesting thing here is that essentially, because of COVID, because of the lack of boat shows, Seawind did almost no marketing for this new boat. They had developed a boat, 1370, That boat has been developed, but all the marketing that was done for this boat is through our channel, nowhere else. Now, the first video that we put out came out at I think it was the 9th of July. Within 1 month, they had sold 37 hulls. They have now sold 50 hulls. And this is a $900,000 boat. They have sold 50 hulls at about $900,000. Now, you could argue, well, there are many factors that influence who buys boats. But as such, it is unprecedented that putting almost 100% of the marketing to a YouTube channel and getting this set of results, it's never happened before. To put that up, to measure that up against other companies, there are 2 or 3 other 45-foot catamarans that have been launched around the same time. None of them have got sales figures like this. So it is an inference. With a high degree of confidence, we can say that the sailing market and our channel have had a huge amount of influence on those sales. But this isn't the charter program, this is boat building. So let's look at point 2, which relates to product. This is a clever study. This is a partnership that we formed over a year ago with a sailmaker. Now, the sailmaker Precision Sails in Canada agreed to provide us with sales in exchange for us making videos. We also had an affiliate link. But the important thing here is that we worked with the company to try and quantify return of investment. So we made the videos for them, but we also, in the description underneath the video, put a link. And that link people were able to click on. And if they clicked on the link, they got a discount on the sales. The important thing here is that link that they could click went to a dedicated microsite that was only related to our website and our channel. So the sailmaker could see exactly how many sales were generated through our channel alone. And as such, they know that their return of investment is huge. They're pretty happy, and we will continue hopefully to work with them over the years. So we can now quantify using microsites and through feedback from manufacturers the effect of influencers on the sailing market. Let's move on to the third slide, because this is going to be important for you. This is a study to do with chartering. Now, unfortunately, this charter occurred in November 2019, and because of COVID, we were unable to get metrics because the entire global tourism and travel industry closed down this year. It will open up, and it's going to open up with a vengeance. But let me just point out and tell you exactly how this worked. In November 2019, we worked with Island Spirit Charters in Thailand. The contract that we formed and the partnership that we formed was to produce a certain number of videos for them. This was going to show Thailand as a sailing destination, show the boat as a platform for living on board. And what we showed is, in the videos that we made for them, we showcased how beautiful and how much fun it would be to be sailing in those areas. Now, shortly afterwards, everything closed down. But in the 6 videos that we put out for that charter company, they have said to us absolutely categorically, please come back. So as soon as the market opens again, we will be going back to Thailand to continue that. It's a partnership that we are super happy to continue, and both parties are very, very happy to continue working together. And that's how any good partnership should be. You work in good faith and you work together. Terysa. So you've decided, Nick, you've convinced us we need to find an influencer. What do we do? Well, you need to work out how much influence that influencer is going to have. So for instance, and again, these are statistics from our own channel. I cannot speak for any other channels. This is the information that we have about ourselves. I can tell you that 50% of our followers are from the USA. About 40% are from Europe, and the other 10 are from around the world. So we know that if we're working with a company in the USA or a company in Europe, that has a whole amount of influence, that our demographic is actually going to be interested in certain products. In addition to this, we've got Facebook followers and Instagram followers. But if you're looking for an influencer, you can ask anyone, any sailing channel, to give you statistics on, well, what is your market? Because honestly, if the people that are following your channel aren't going to be interested in the product that you're selling, well, it's not a good, and it probably will not be a good return of investment. Terysa? So, the $1 million question, what is this going to cost? This used to be very, very, very difficult to put a figure on. Thankfully, the industry standard has developed, and now it's a given that you look to third-party applications, which look at the whole metrics of subscriber number, watch time, engagement, and provide you with a value. And this industry standard is now generally accepted across the board. Both influencers and companies that they work with in broad agreement that this is a value that they are willing to come together to accept. And it removes any difficult negotiation where there is a disparity between what an influencer wants and what the company wants to provide. Now, the company that I'm talking about is a company called Social Blue Book, and it is one of many companies that can provide you with a valuation of your services. For instance, this is, again, the Social Blue Book valuation. It's actually an old one from about 8 months ago of our videos. So if we put out a dedicated video for a company, the median price is about $5,500 US. It will be higher now because our channel has grown. So it costs for about $5,500 to make a video. And then additionally, there are the cost of Instagram posts and the cost of Facebook posts. But any influencer that you are working with will be able to put together a comprehensive quote detailing the number of videos that they're going to make or able to make, and also tell you the amount of additional posts that they will be able to make. And there's obviously some wiggle room in negotiation. But as a broad starting point, this is where you want to be. Ask for the Social Blue Book valuations. Now, obviously, that means that you need to find an influencer whose budget is going to work for you and doesn't bankrupt you, and so that you are actually going to get a return of investment that is actually going to work. So, for instance, if you take our values based on this slide at 5,500, and we have, I think that was taken when we had about 100,000 subscribers. If you took someone with 1 million subscribers and the same engagement, remember we're talking about engagement rates, their values are going to be about 10 times higher. So you're looking based on, a like for like at about $55,000 a video, which may not provide you the return of investment. And it may be that the investment is better placed over several smaller channels. But again, it's a very subjective thing, and it's very personal to you in how you put your marketing budget and where you direct your marketing budget. Terysa? So, as I've said, Social Blue Book, it's a pretty good way and a pretty accurate way of working out what the value of influencers are to you. Now, when we work with any company, we use Social Blue Book as a broad overview of what things are going to cost. And a company will normally come to us and say, we would like you to make a video for us or make a series of videos for us, chartering one of our catamarans, showcasing our product. And we go into lengthy discussion about exactly what they want and what they want us to showcase. And at the end of it all, the value of that influence comes down to a set of numbers, which it becomes transactional. This has changed. It's changed from even in the last few years. It used to be, even 2 or 3 years ago, that companies exchanged product for exposure. So, for instance, if I wanted to, a company would send me a case of beer, and in exchange for that case of beer, I would show that case of beer. But that's an antiquated way of doing things, and the influencer market has changed hugely, and sailing has now caught up with that. So no longer is it a case of, well, we will give you product in exchange for influence. Obviously, if the product is very, very, very high value and is about at the level that you would, that your influence is worth, then it becomes a fairly straightforward exchange. But if there's a disparity between the value of the product that you're exchanging and the influencer, then there has to be an additional level to the negotiation. Terysa. So, we've told you who to work with, what to look for, and what you're going to want. But there are other considerations. And these are going to be important for you as companies looking to use sailing influencers to market your product. The first one, this is pretty important, is delivery time. At the moment, we film about 6 months before we put the videos out. So that means that if you have an absolute opportune time where you think, I want these videos to be out in this month because that is when I get the greatest uptick in my sales, then you need to make sure that the company and the sailing influencer that you are working with is able and also happy to make those videos and to put them live at that time. Now, it could be that the channel just can't work with you at that level. We, for instance, know that when we work with companies, we, from the very outset, say to them, we can probably give you a bookend between, say, this month and this month, where we are going to put the videos out. We are also going to be able to tell you the frequency at which we're going to put them out. For us, we put videos out once a week, and it tends to work very well with us if we keep our routine, because our followers, people that follow our channel, expect that. So high delivery of volume, which goes against what you normally put out, what your normal cadence of output is, doesn't always work. So delivery time and frequency needs to be addressed at your initial discussions. Point 2, organic or inorganic promotion. Now, this is pretty straightforward. And again, depending on who you are working with will depend on what they want to do. Let me just explain. Organic promotion. When we work with charter companies, the way that we work is we say, listen, we're not going to make a video which essentially says, come and work for Next Charters. This is sponsored by Next Charters. We are on one of Next Charters. This is how it all works. What we do is we show the boat, we show any branding and logos organically within the video. So say, for instance, you've got Next Charter written on the sail bag, we will show that. We will also put descriptions in the links so that anyone can check out and get links direct to a company. We also, at the very end of a video, sometimes say or write where the promotion comes from and who we're working with. The reason that we do this is because it forms a better narrative. Advertising has changed hugely. We're not in the 1950s anymore. Inorganic promotion, where you are clearly selling a product, tends to be far, it doesn't work anymore. If you look at the latest Volvo adverts, I can't tell whether they're trying to sell astronauts or holidays or Volvos. But at the end, you realize that it's a car advert. And that is good organic promotion, where you buy into the story and are organically sold a product. And that is what good sailing channels, not just us, but other channels, should be able to do for you. Point 3, this is pretty straightforward. Copyright and IPR. Who owns that? This is straightforward because the copyright of the product, the copyright of the post, and the copyright of the video always resides with the creator. It is within YouTube's terms of service. I cannot give you the copyright to our product. It has to be, for us to put it on the internet, it has to be our own material. But there are ways around this, and we do this with a lot of manufacturers and a lot of companies that we work with. If we put together a video for 20 minutes, and we agree to make a certain number of videos, we are also normally happy to build into what we discuss with them, making a small video, say, for instance, 1 minute promotional video exclusively for their use. So if you are working with sailing influencers, you are absolutely within the realms of the discussion to say, listen, we want you to make this number of videos showcasing our product, but we'd also like you to make a video for 60 seconds for our website that we can use to showcase you. And that is pretty easy to do. Point number 4, the inclusion of keywords, logos, and company branding. Company branding, your company branding, is pretty easy to do. As I've already said, using sail bags, taking long, slow panning shots of a sail bag, that puts the company's branding into the video organically. But inclusion of keywords. We work with companies to produce dedicated hashtags so that if, say, for instance, the company says, look, can you use this hashtag on this social media platform, or can you tag us in this? Then again, it all feeds in. And so working with an influencer to work out hashtags, whether those are generic hashtags. So for instance, Nick's Sailing Company or Nick's Charter Company is a generic hashtag which works for this sailing charter company in itself. But if you could put a dedicated hashtag together, which is Nick's Charter, Terysa's sailing blogs, that becomes very specific to the work that you're doing. And that can work very well for you. Targeted hashtags, keywords, and logos work very, very well. And this, again, is something that you should actually discuss and work through if you are working with a sailing influencer. Terysa. So I've told you our views, our statistics, and our return of investments on is it going to work? The answer is a resounding yes. It has worked, it continues to work, and it will in the future continue to grow. But what is the future going to bring? Now, we don't have a crystal ball, and if 2020 has taught us anything, it's that predicting the future is never a good idea. However, what we think is going to happen based on what has happened and what we see in continuing growth and continuing trends. Firstly, there is going to be an increase in influencers working within the sailing market. We know for a fact that since we went into partnership with Seaweed Catamarans, numerous other influencers have been approached by numerous yacht building manufacturers to go into partnership because they've seen the value. And so whether it's yacht building or a charter market or a third-party smaller product, both the influencers and the companies can see the value of building good partnerships. So it is going to increase. Number two, if you look at all the statistics, every metric on the internet, they are showing that people are increasing their consumption of content on YouTube. As you know, within the sailing market, circulation figures for magazines are dropping massively. There is an argument that really magazines cannot be truly objective when they review any product because they are buying editorial content and selling editorial content in exchange for reviews. So now when people look, I mean, think of it yourselves. If you want to see, you know, is the latest iPod any good? Is the latest iPhone any good? Is the latest Ford car any good? Most people now turn to YouTube reviews. And YouTube is becoming a very, very professional organization. It used to be, yeah, it was cat videos and holiday videos. But now, creators, there will always be cat videos made by amateurs, but there are some fantastic, fantastic high-quality channels that put all their content out on the internet, mostly on YouTube. And it is almost guaranteed that within 15 years, YouTube will overtake Netflix and Hulu and other content providers for high-quality footage and high-quality content. So consumption is going to go up, and getting onto this kind of upward slope is probably very, very beneficial for you at the moment. Number three, personal priorities are invariably changing. 2020 has shown us really that honestly, change your priorities. Why save all your money now? Because you don't know what is around the corner. For instance, you can't buy a used boat at the moment. Used boat sales are going through the ceiling because people have changed their priorities. No point in keeping the money in the bank. Let's just go out and enjoy it now. And this is going to change towards people putting more of their money and turning their focus towards lifestyle over income. Fourth point, there is invariably going to be a change in the vacation market. As you know, the travel industry has been hit hardest by COVID-19. And confidence in this market is not going to return straight away, even after the vaccine. People over 2020, those that were fortunate enough to holiday, have seen the benefit in using systems and processes they wouldn't normally see. So rather than going to a travel agent or an online booking agent and booking an all-inclusive holiday, they'll move to Airbnb or smaller boutique firms that offer smaller experiences. That gives people a better sense of security because they're not going to be with 2,000 other people on a cruise ship or 1,000 other people in a hotel dining room. And that security, people now know that there's a different way and possibly a better way. And that is going to feed heavily into the charter market because the best way of isolating yourself, the best way of getting a holiday which is controlled more by you and not by external forces is to be on a yacht charter. And so we see that as soon as confidence starts to return in the market, there will be a massive uptick in people taking yacht charters. And this is a very, very good time to get on board in making sure that your promotion and the way that you are promoting your product is in line with 2020 and 21st century advertising. Terysa. And finally, that's us. Thank you so much for watching that. If you do want to get in contact with us, there's email and there's phone numbers and everything there. We also have our YouTube sailing channel and our website, which is www.yachtrubyrose.com. I don't even know our own website. So listen, thank you for watching that. We are available to take questions. And if you have specific questions on anything that we've discussed, just please ask away and we'll be here to take your questions. So thank you.
Thank you very much. We heard a lot about all the advantages about the cooperation with the influencers. I can see that there are no questions at the moment, but I'm sure that the people are interested in one thing. If you could give us some beginner tips, the Instagram and Facebook account, besides the cooperation with the influencers for companies, it's now must have. So if you could give us something, some beginner tips, what kind of the content should they publish on their companies' Facebook and Instagram accounts and so on?
I'll take this one. Yeah, okay. So as Nick said, and as I think probably a lot of your other presenters are talking about, social media marketing is really taking over as one of the most important ways of marketing your product. And as we've said, product is either a charter or, an actual physical thing. So the best thing to do is to, first of all, obviously do your own research. There is so much information out there on how to get started on Instagram and Facebook when you're using it for business. However, some tips are, first of all, Instagram and Facebook have business pages. So they are set up for business. So they actually have a lot of tools that businesses can use to track, the audience and to track engagement, that kind of thing. So that's important to know. Familiarize yourself with the tools that are actually embedded into the platforms. That takes practice and experience, of course. But in terms of the type of content, even though there is an overlap, Instagram and Facebook are kind of used for slightly different things. So Instagram, there is a huge emphasis on the quality of the actual image. So using high quality photographs, either from, you can republish kind of existing photographs. So it doesn't have to be your own original content, as long as you credit whoever you got the photograph from and ask their permission. But just kind of building a wall. So your wall is your homepage, essentially, that is consistent, that builds into your brand. So if you are a charter company based in Greece, then obviously all of your photographs are going to be, beautiful shots of boats sailing in Greek waters, that kind of thing. You can kind of imagine like the grid looking all blue and white and lovely. So you kind of want to think about it, your Instagram grid or your Instagram homepage looking consistent and selling the image that you want, obviously, to sell. Facebook is similar, and you can cross post, so you can still post those that content to Facebook. And I encourage you guys to do so, because you should be posting about once a day. But Facebook is also very useful for kind of more in-depth information. So if you're hosting an event, say, or if you want to make an announcement, say, well, obviously COVID's given us a good example of why you might need to communicate very quickly and directly with your followers. So say there's an emergency closure of your office, or if you are now running promotion and you want to let everyone know about the promotion, any kind of news or updates, Facebook is a really great place to put those types of posts. And in terms of, Nick mentioned hashtags and tagging people. So hashtags are probably the most important thing, particularly for Instagram. And you need to be using hashtags that are obviously going to encourage people to come to find you through those hashtags. So again, a yacht charter based in Greece, the hashtag might be Greece sailing, or just sailing, or just boat life. There's lots of different hashtags that are used. And if you tag your photos with those hashtags, then people who are following those hashtags, because you can follow hashtags as well as actual accounts, then they will probably find your account and follow it if they're interested. So yeah, there's a lot to it, but I guess that's kind of a brief overview. I hope that answers that question.
Thank you. I believe that will be really useful to all the viewers. We have a few more questions. So next one is if you have any info about the conversion rates in regards to requesting or booking a yacht directly from your side, from your point of view.
We don't, and the reason is that the last charter we did in Thailand, it was in November. So there is.
We were putting the videos out in January, February,
Yeah.
March as this was all unraveling. So unfortunately, the borders to Thailand actually closed as we were putting out those videos, which is really unfortunate. We have had some contact with the charter company that we worked with, and they have acknowledged that obviously the timing was a bit off, but they would love for us to come back as soon as the borders open so we can create more content for them. And, you know, we're aware anecdotally of other YouTube channels that have worked with charter companies and they've had return custom from the YouTube channel themselves. So it really depends, as Nick said, on a lot of different factors. It depends on the influencer or the sailing channel having an audience that is actually the audience that the charter company is wanting to communicate with. So if you're wanting to appeal to the American audience, then you need a channel that obviously has a largely American audience. So yeah, there's a lot of, and as Nick said, the time of year that the video is being put out, obviously the economic situation for everything, that's not so good at the moment. So there's a lot of different factors at the moment. So we don't have any hard statistics yet, but they will come within, you know, the following years as this becomes the more popular option for charter companies. They will definitely come.
Another interesting thing, just to add to Terysa's point, is that it doesn't have to be a charter that you're on to actually get people to be interested in chartering. For instance, last year we took our sailing boat through the French canals.
Yeah.
So it's a very rare thing to do. So we put the mast on deck and spent, you know, a month going through a canal system. Now, the charter companies that run canal hire boats, actually, we actually had charters booked for this year because they could see the benefit in us showcasing ourselves in a geographic location and how that would appeal to people thinking, I want to do that. So
we had so much interest in the French canals as a destination that we actually approached the canal boat charter companies and said, are you interested in working with us? Because we know that we have an audience that are really interested in your product. And once again, unfortunately, the timing was such that...
We were just about to we actually had a promotional video that we made with the company to kind of like showcase everything involving them. And I think the borders closed, the French borders closed like the week beforehand, and we put that on ice. But we'll revisit that as well.
Yeah.
Okay, understandable. And for the end, if you would have to only choose one or two channels, which one would you choose?
To promote?
I think to work with.
To work with, as in for charters to work with. It's a very, very broad question. It's like saying if you had to choose one or two bands, who would you choose? It depends on, say, for instance, let me just talk about a few channels. There are some channels that say, for instance, sailing channels that work up in the Arctic Circle and do very high latitude sailing. If you are a charter company that works out of Bergen in Norway, not sure one of those exists, then that would provide more appeal to you. If there is say, for instance, if we or another channel was sailing around Croatia, that is going to be a good fit for you at the time. So the channel's location will affect how beneficial it is to you. So say, for instance, in 2022, if there are 2 or 3 big name channels sailing around Croatian and Adriatic waters, and you want to market to Croatia, then the followers that they will gain will be interested in Croatian sailing. So where that channel is will have an influence. And one thing, as I mentioned in the discussion, that you do have to be aware of is that as subscription level and engagement levels go up, so the costs go up. So honestly, if you have a channel, I mean, to the best of our knowledge, chartering a boat costs between $5,000 and $10,000 a week. So you need to make a return of investment on that. if you took a sailing channel where their costs for video were going to be about $5,000 to $10,000 per week, then the exchange, it's going to cost you essentially nothing. If you are working with a channel that want to charge you $50,000 a week per video, and that's their industry standard, then every week that they are on your boat, you have to pay an additional $40,000, and that may not be. It just may not be financially or viable for you, or you may not consider that to be a good chance of getting a return of investment. So, unfortunately, for the reasons I've given, it is impossible for me to say, that's who you should be working with. What I would say to you is, if you put a gun to my head and said, Nick, just name some channels, look at the quality of the film work. That's what you want to look at. You want to look at something and think, I want to make films like that, because that's what makes the channel. There are some channels out there with huge numbers where their video quality isn't as good as channels that have got very small numbers that are putting out very, very, very high quality, well-edited videos.
Perfect, thank you. I don't see any other questions, so we can finish for today. Thank you very much for presentations on the Booking Manager Summit, and have a nice